Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Forest. Dave Cottingham here with Hannah Burr. Good evening, Hannah.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. Thank you. Doing all right.
Good. I just got back from watching Ant-Man.
And?
Not bad. There's a lot going on, so I'll have to digest it a little bit, but all good. But this is not a Marvel movie podcast, so we're going to dive into Star Wars.
Yes.
Of course, we are going to talk about episode 9 of The Bad Batch that just came out yesterday. A couple news things, pretty much it. It seems like it might be a little quicker episode here, but of course, first off, thanks to our patrons as always.
Mm-hmm.
Keep contributing there. Thank you. Patreon.com/Inside the Forest. We can go check that out. Check out our tiers. And of course, InsideTheForest.com for all our links to all of our podcast feeds out there. Of course, on YouTube to get this show and many other shows. So thank you as always for that. Just a couple news headlines here, Hannah. One, apparently has been making the rounds just in the last day or two. And that is apparently they are announcing a movie at Star Wars Celebration.
What?
Yes.
That better not be a fan-made rumor. That rumor better be...
This is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. So it seems legit.
Okay.
That's all that's being said.
So, your wish will come true.
I know, right? So coming April 7th, sometimes April 7th to the 10th, when Star Wars Celebration happens, apparently we will find out what the next Star Wars movie is. Now, there's been a lot of not just rumors, but a lot of noise from Lucasfilm regarding people that are involved in some movies, right? You got Taika Waititi that apparently is under development. Patty Jenkins is possibly still making Rogue Squadron. Mm-hmm. You have other people that have been rumored to be writing scripts or making movies, blah, 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 blah. So which one will be announced, if it's only one or if it's many? I mean, I would think you would have to give somewhat of an update on all of these projects. But I don't know if they'll do that.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see exactly what happens.
I mean, the article is saying basically that, it talks about like how much. It says right now that the film that seems to be on track to hit the theater date, to hit a release date, which is December of 2025, is the Damon Lindelof co-written, Sharmeen Oda-Chinoy directed feature, which the company has been developing for well over a year and which could be shooting as soon as this year. And this is the story that apparently is set post Rise of Skywalker, which is rumored to possibly bring Daisy Ridley back as well.
No.
So that's potentially what they're saying could be the movie that gets announced.
Can we just explore another time period of Star Wars, please?
Well, technically, this is another time period.
Okay. I don't want to see... I'm sorry, in a movie, I don't necessarily want to see the characters that we already know. Let's do a different time altogether. Something that doesn't cross over. I don't know. That's just me. I love Daisy Ridley. It's just as soon as you mention, and there might be appearances by people we've seen. No.
Right.
No.
So that's kind of the thought too, is that this wouldn't necessarily be a Rey Skywalker movie.
Right.
She would just be in it, which I think if you're going to put her in a Star Wars movie, you almost, I think, should make her the lead. But because I'm not sure why you would make it's like making it's like making a movie after Return of the Jedi and making Mark Hamill kind of the side character.
Yeah.
Luke making this out. And I'm not talking about because he was basically a side character in the sequel trilogy. I'm saying like if you would have made the movie, a few years after Return of the Jedi in the 80s or something like that, and then put Luke as the kind of side character, I don't think a lot of people would have appreciated that. So, But it goes on to say, obviously, yes, there's the announcing the title is also very likely, especially considering that considering that Kathleen Kennedy told us about Patty Jenkins developing for the film. She said it'd be called Rogue Squadron, so it's possible that we might get a title as well, along with the announcement. But there's also a possible Taika Waititi project that's still in the works. There's another rumor that's possibly that they are going to roll out kind of a 5-year plan for movies. I mean, it's a lot going on, so who knows? Of course, there's always been these rumors that is Kathleen Kennedy going to even be around after the summer when her contract's up, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I think that builds a little more excitement for Celebration. Celebration was probably going to, up until this, was going to be more or less about, trailers for maybe Ahsoka or Skeleton Crew, maybe another Disney Plus announcement, coming forward. Apparently, rumors are also, just to kind of segue into this a little bit, rumors are kind of that they've already renewed Ahsoka for a season 2, possibly, because season 1 looks that good. So maybe an announcement there for that. Hopefully that we see something from the Acolyte.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I want to see, Hannah, is I want to see what they do with the Marvel stuff, to be honest. I want to see...
Oh, really?
I want to see a timeline, and I want to see, like, when things are coming. That's what I want to see. Like, give me Ahsoka, tell me whatever. I don't care if it doesn't have to be a date. It just needs to be summer of 2023. Skeleton Crew, fall of 20 or winter, or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know if they can. And I what I mean is that I feel like right now Star Wars doesn't necessarily know what to do. We're still stuck in this one, except for the books and the comics. We're stuck in this one time period.
Mm-hmm.
We're still stuck in this time block between Phantom Menace and Rise of Skywalker.
Totally, yeah.
And I'm not complaining. Some of the stuff that has come from that has been great, but I don't know. And maybe this is what's going to be announced, and hopefully we'll then get a timeline, but I don't know what direction they want to take Star Wars now,
Mm-hmm.
And some of the shows kind of hint at it. So I don't know if we'll be able to get a timeline, because I don't know if they're 100% sure what direction they want to go yet. So they don't know what to quote unquote promise and what to kind of keep quiet and see how other things succeed.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because I do think that what, when Lucasfilm was purchased almost 10 years ago, actually a little more than 10 years ago now, when that was purchased, George was thinking of doing his own 7, 8, 9, right? He was in the middle of working on that.
Yeah.
And at that time, we only had the 6 movies and the Clone Wars series, right? So I think when Disney bought them, obviously this is what's happened over the last 10 years, is they've been basically using that timeline to fill in the gaps, right? Trying to, which I appreciate, because I think they're trying to fully connect the universe in a sense, right? So that there's not this lingering, for example, between episode 3 and 4, there's not this lingering 19-year gap that you don't have know nothing about. So I do like the fact that we're getting the Bad Batch to kind of understand how the Empire transitioned from the Republic to the Empire. What happened to Obi-Wan Kenobi during that time? How did the rebellion start, which we're seeing in Andor and Rebels? Things like that. Things I think that now you can argue that the expanded universe did, and they didn't just adapt those stories, but they wanted to kind of retell. Obviously, they're retelling it so they can make more money. So I do think, unfortunately, I think in what you're saying, I think we're going to continue to get those until you almost can't go anymore.
Are we already at that point?
Well, I think the only thing really lingering is where the Mandalorian is right now. Like that 30-year gap between 6 and 7. Like there's a lot of lingering questions to me that still exist there.
I mean, Shadow of the Sith did a great job filling in some of that.
It did, especially with the characters from the sequel trilogy. But I think, the Mandalorian is opening up a lot of doors right now. I think Ahsoka's going to too, with Thrawn and where that goes, right? I think there's stories there that are kind of new, even though they take place in the same timeline. I do think their attempt to test the waters has been the High Republic. But the problem is we've said this numerous times on here, you're hitting a smaller group of the fan base because it's just in publication. Now we'll see when any of these games come out that takes place then, when the Acolyte comes out. We'll see if fans jump on board, and then I think you start seeing more stories outside of that timeline. That's kind of where unfortunately, it's going to take a little longer. But I do think, and then of course, if this is true, this film, you're getting outside the Skywalker trilogy on the other way in the future, which I think is a great idea because, like the High Republic, I want to see more Jedi. So as long as Rey doesn't F it up and not create a Jedi Order, as long as there's a Jedi Order and the Jedi come back, I want to see those stories in the future. So,
and I don't disagree with that. I just don't think we need to see characters that we already know.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah,
we just let it be. Yeah, in the future, just. Shoot it all the way out there.
Like basically you're saying like maybe like 200 years or so?
Yeah, or even 100 years would be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I definitely could see that possibly happening.
But then is Disney going to say, oh, but we got to fill in all the gaps between...
I was just about to say, there's probably going to be some gap fillers then at some point there.
No! It never ends.
I mean, but maybe you don't have to because you can kind of argue that there's like 100 years apiece.
Yes, but there's 100. There's 100 years you got to fill in.
There is 100 years. There's a lot of story there probably, but so I don't know. Is that what Star Wars is going to be? Just jumping around to fill in gaps? I don't know. I don't think you need to do that, but I agree with you. I think where the Bad Batch is, where Andor is, where Obi-Wan was, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. In that timeline now, do you need any more stories? I don't know what you would do there, because we got young Leia. I don't think you need to do anything with young Luke.
I think the beauty of not knowing what happened to young Luke, really, and I mean, you get snippets here and there. But it kind of emphasizes, yep, that's how boring his life is.
Right. Yep.
Yep, that's how badly he wants to get out.
And honestly, I like what they did between the original trilogy by doing those stories with the comics.
Yes.
I think that is really good because it's visual as well, and it's publication. Unlike a novel where you kind of have to think about it and visualize it yourself, but you're seeing the illustrations. And it is a good gap. I mean, like we did on Beyond the Saga. I mean, that Star Wars series literally picks up at the end of 4 and ends at the beginning of 5. I mean, it's like the entire story between.
So if this is your first time listening in, or if you haven't had a chance to explore Beyond the Saga, we greatly encourage you to, especially specifically talking about these comics that just fill in the gaps. And I honestly don't think Star Wars or Disney or whomever needs to do any more with that.
Yeah. I agree. I think I like these, I like what we have right now, but yeah, at some point it needs to move on. It does need to move on. I'm just not sure when that would be.
Right.
Which kind of, I guess, segues into the other bit of news that I read, which is a quote, or not a quote, an interview, a bunch of quotes, but basically some news coming from an interview recently from Bob Iger.
Okay.
Yeah, basically they were talking about, it was on one of those financial channels, so they were talking about the success or whatever non-success of Disney Plus, because Disney Plus launched, I believe, right at the end before he left, right?
I think so.
And then he left for 2 years, which I think was 2020 and 2021. So unfortunately, it was during the pandemic, which, as he pointed out too, halted a lot of their planned productions.
Right.
Totally makes sense. You're kind of, even though I know a lot of how some people feel about Bob Chapek, I mean, he was kind of in a very tough situation with the parks being closed, Disney Plus not being able to put as much content on as it was, but it did break all their expectations as far as subscriptions in the first couple of years.
Yes.
It has apparently kind of fallen off a little bit over these last few months. And Bob Iger is basically saying that instead of focusing on capturing more subscribers, they're more or less going to start focusing on profitability with the properties they have, right? So instead of, again, focusing on, because there's only so many people, to be honest, that you're going to get to subscribe. And you're always going to have, retention and all this stuff that's happening. You're never just going to keep gathering, because there's only so many people that have this thing. You have the ability to even, pay for it and watch it.
Yeah.
So he's more focusing on, okay, what is profitable to make and focus on and then put it on the platform. But the big thing is that he's saying that they're going to lean heavier. They're going to start leaning heavier on their major brands. So Pixar, Disney, and Marvel. Those are like the things they're going to, now you could say that's what it's really all about, but it really wasn't, because if people have been paying attention, what Chapek has been doing, and Bob kind of did it, his last deal at the end, his last deal before he left was purchasing all of 20th Century Fox's catalog, right? So they've been slowly releasing that on the platform, which is basically a lot of older content, like the old Marvel movies, and then the pirate, or not the Pirates movie, but like the what am I thinking of? These other series that have been, Avatar was one of them that eventually landed on there because that was a 20th century product. So you're getting these older content that people are either rewatching or maybe finding for the first time, but then they don't really care because it's older anyway. So it's like, what new stuff can we create? And obviously Pixar, Disney, Marvel are kind of the brands that kind of brought that up in the first place. So what that means, I don't know. I guess it means that they're going to look at creating more content. I mean, I feel like they're making a lot of that content already, but maybe there's going to be more.
But didn't they say about how they were going to focus on the quality of Marvel content versus the quantity?
Correct. So I don't know. And that was kind of his first comment when he first got the job back was, yeah, we're not going to maybe put as much out there. But now, I don't know. I don't know. I guess he's looking at the numbers and they're trying to strategize on how to best make money from all of these properties.
So does that mean Star Wars is going to take a little bit of a back seat potentially?
Well, I mean, no, I think actually, I actually, the way this sounds, I think they're going to actually make more.
Oh boy. I just don't want another Marvel effect.
They're going to lean harder into Disney, Marvel, Pixar, Star Wars, like even harder. Like, just like, instead of, it sounds like instead of like worrying about these other brands that they've acquired.
I got you.
Really stay focused on, because again, there's every time I feel like every time I get on Disney Plus, I see a lot of older stuff being released now, on there from the Fox catalog, and not too much new stuff. Because like just like a couple weeks ago, it was like, new to Disney Plus, Wakanda Forever. I'm like, well, I've already seen that, so it's not new to me, So you almost have to. I think you almost have to start focusing on truly making exclusive, more just exclusive content on there, right?
That's what other streaming services are doing.
That's right. You can't watch Stranger Things unless you have Netflix, and you can't watch what I watch, like Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime or The Boys or something like that. So
or The Office is now solely on Peacock.
Yeah, that's right. So you do gotta, but Disney has been so successful, especially with Marvel, in the theaters.
Yes.
So I don't know. And I feel like the theater experience has gotten, at least around where we are, has gotten better. Because I feel like the theater we go to, which is the one at the mall, is they redid the inside. There's all new seats, and the sound is a lot better. The theater experience to me has gotten better over the last few years. So I still love to enjoy going to the movies, but I don't see everything in the movies like I used to,
Right.
I pick and choose.
It's been a while since we've been to the movies, and I think it's just because it's like, well, it costs that much to see it, or I could just wait a little bit and then see it at home.
Yeah.
But I will say there is nothing like movie theater popcorn. You cannot replicate that.
I know. Yeah,
so
I just had some tonight. Kinda, yeah, totally. But it's I don't know. I'm with you too, though. I like sitting at home and being able to just turn it on and watch at home too. So.
And then if you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of it, all you have to do is pause it. You don't miss any major scenes.
That's true.
After you drink that jumbo drum of Diet Coke and then have to pee halfway through the movie, so you're like, yes. Oh, crap. I don't want to miss anything.
I know. And I've had to do that a few times too. Speaking of I asked, because I feel like I always ask every time. I keep getting my mind blown. But I was like looking, I was like, how big is a large drink? And they pull this cup up that is like, I mean, it is incredibly large. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to drink all that. Just give me a medium. Even the medium's actually pretty big too. So it's so weird how big these cups are.
Our strategy is get a large popcorn and then a large drink, and we shared the drink.
Yes. No. Yeah. Me and my daughter shared the drink and shared the popcorn, and we didn't even finish neither. So it's definitely, you don't need to be buying. Everybody doesn't need their own drink there. It's as long as you're okay with sharing, that's fine.
Yeah, if it's your first if it's a first date at a movie theater, maybe buy Severance.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Don't do that. So yeah. So I don't know. I just found that interesting. I don't know what that means yet. I think we'll find out over the course of the next few months, and possibly by the end of the year, like what Disney is planning to do with Disney Plus. Because I think, Iger. I think Iger just feels like he put a lot of things in motion, and then a lot of things kind of didn't go the way he had planned. So now he's coming back in to kind of straighten it out a little bit.
I wonder if some of the movies will be exclusive to Disney Plus. That might be the strategy.
I totally think so. Well, and I'm fine with that. Like, honestly, I make a Star Wars movie and just put it on Disney Plus. Like, I'm fine with that. I don't see what the big problem with that is. I mean, I know you probably, again, would maximize your profits if you put it in a theater, but then don't spend $250 million on it.
Right.
Make a $50 million movie that's just really focused on the story and the characters, and not necessarily a big universe and a big scope. You can localize a lot of these Star Wars stories that are really, keep them really good.
Well, I also wonder if part of it is they want to have those box office numbers, because I don't think they really have box office numbers for streaming platforms, right?
No, I mean, it's all based on subscriptions, right? So
yeah, or it's like, this is how many people streamed this movie.
I
wonder if we're
views.
eventually, the views. I wonder if we're eventually going to get into that, where people, because sometimes people look to see what movies were successful at the box office to determine whether or not they go see that. Other people go to Rotten Tomatoes to figure out whether or not they should see a movie. I wonder if we're going to get to a point where here are the streaming views for this movie on its opening weekend.
Yeah, I think so. I think they release something like that. Like when Mandalorian premiered, they'll say,
right,
this is the most watched premiere out of any show released or something like that. So I definitely think that does happen.
I just wonder if it's going to become more mainstream.
Yeah,
the exclusive stuff happens.
Yeah, I think so. Another thing I forgot that they mentioned a while ago, and I haven't heard it for a while now, so maybe they're not going to do it, but there were talks that they were going to bring ads on Disney Plus.
Yes.
Did you hear that? Yeah.
I did hear that, but I wonder if in the controversy of the Netflix password sharing thingamabob that's going on right now, they just kind of decided to, because I think their idea is, well, if everybody's going to go cancel their Netflix subscription, that means they can just hop over to ours.
Okay. Yeah.
That might be the strategy. I don't know. I hope they don't do ads.
Well, they'll do the Hulu model, which is what they control anyway.
Right, but still, no.
Which is like, if you don't want ads, you just need to pay more.
No.
So, I know.
Why?
But that's an easy way to increase your revenue, obviously, is put ads on stuff, which, just sucks.
You don't need it. You already make enough money. You don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell that to the board. Yeah.
Gladly. Put me in front of them. I'll add to my list of demands more Star Wars movies.
Okay. Let's move on to Bad Batch. But first, of course, just a reminder on some upcoming releases. Here on March 7th, of course, Jedi Battle Scars, the novel that takes place between the games. High Republic Cataclysm on April 4th. Path of Vengeance, May 2nd. And then Rise of the Red Blade Inquisitor, July 18th. Oh, yeah. We don't know I don't have the release date yet for Crimson Climb. The book we talked about last week from J.K. Johnston, E.K. Johnston. Comics. This past week, you got Star Wars 31 and Bounty Hunters 31. Next week, Dr. Aphra 29 and Yoda number 4. So that'll finish out your February comics releases. Okay. Bad Batch episode 9, entitled The Crossing. We just got out of 2 incredible episodes last week about the transition from the clones to the stormtroopers. We saw the kind of dramatic exit of Echo from the squad. So now we're into this episode where there is no Echo, and our guys are on a new mission from Sid to go find some valuable mineral, right? Called Ipsium. So, Hannah, overall thoughts of episode 9?
In one word?
No, you can actually say more than one word. But if you want to say one word first, sure. Is that a word?
E-H.
Okay. I'll say M-E-H, meh.
Do they basically mean the same thing?
Pretty much. But
yeah.
It
just, how do you have this episode when you come off of the 2 episodes that you, like, I understand what they're trying to do. I understand they're trying to give us a glimpse a little bit more into Tech's point of view. They're trying to show Omega trying to deal with, for her, it is loss. Mm-hmm. She's not necessarily a soldier like they are. They're used to actually losing people. And so to them, this isn't the same thing. And I feel like at one point they were also toying with the idea of, are items more important to help us survive, or are our lives more important? So do we help each other? I feel like they were trying to do so many different themes in this episode that none of them came through. Also, we all of a sudden were in the Lion King with the Stampede.
Oh, yes. Right.
I literally went, Lion King?
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Favreau is a big fan of the Bad Batch, right? So
I've got nothing against the Lion King.
Yeah, right.
Well, the OG, the
original Lion King. Yeah, sure.
I've got nothing against the original Lion King, but I feel like they were trying to. Oddly enough, not a lot happened, but they were trying to squeeze too much into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What about your takeaways?
Yeah. See, again, I don't want to sound like I'm an expert, right? Because I'm a Star Wars fan. I do know about filmmaking and obviously production. So I do feel like we have some unique insight into how, storytelling, right?
Right.
So I get the story that you're trying to tell here, which is Omega's sense of loss of a family member. I get it, totally get it. And the viewpoint that these guys have, that they do care about Echo, but they also understand that he made a choice, and they still have lives that they have to worry about, and they have to just worry about each other now still. So I get all that. My only thing is, why not put that story and surround it with a story that's more impactful to the entire arc of the series?
Yes.
Right? Like, why put it in this? That's the only thing I question. And I feel like they've done that a couple times this season, right? Like the whole Tech thing with the racing thing. Like, I get it. I get it. You were trying to kind of hint at Sid having a bigger past, and Tech, is kind of forefront now, but you could have done something else. I feel like that would have contributed more to the overall arcing story of what the Bad Batch is about. Because that's another thing, like Sid, like that whole thing about her past, like we haven't heard a thing since then.
We heard something in this episode.
But Yeah.
Very briefly.
Yeah. What, that she's just.
Well, like, oh, Sid, we did this for you. We did this for you.
Yes.
But then that was it.
That was it. Yeah. But nothing really about like more about who was she in the past, and
Right.
you know, why is like concerning, should that be concerning to our guys? I mean, gosh, she said, I'll help you out in a couple days. It's like, she doesn't really care about these guys.
No.
So you know, that's the only thing I question is that, you know, you could have had a situation that moved that overall story arc along and still had these conversations.
I would have absolutely loved to have sat in the room when they decided the order of events and the episodes for this season. Because I'm holding on to hope that at the end everything will fall into place. But you're right. I'm at this moment now where there are so many episodes where it's like, why?
Yeah.
You don't need this many filler episodes. Why even do this many episodes at that point?
Like that's the big major point there. Is why not just do 10 solid cohesive episodes versus these ones that you can skip, basically.
I would love to.
And this seems like it's going to be a two-parter because we kind of left it hanging. So unless something majorly significant happens in the next episode, I just don't know. I mean, the next episode's called The Retrieval. So I'm assuming that means they're getting retrieved, right? I guess. Sid will finally show up, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess there's a whole idea of how this is change for them. But here's my thing. If this is supposed to be a change episode, and because of the rain and the storm happenings, that symbolizes change, you know, that symbolizes like something new is happening.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really get that with Crosshair when Crosshair left. So why is Echo that much more significant?
Right.
Like, and crossing is like you've crossed the threshold into something new. Wouldn't that been more appropriate for the last 2 episodes we had?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all confusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know
what else to say.
Yeah, and I think the whole like, it was just weird. Like the ship gets conveniently robbed and stolen. It's like, that's.
And I thought maybe this was a way, like that was the other thing. I was like, well, maybe this episode is about how Echo was the glue, and so now Omega needs to step up and be the new glue. So I thought, oh, maybe that's where they're taking this. But then it was Wrecker was always concerned about people over items, and Tech saw that differently. So I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that's what our theme is. And then you have Omega saying that she feels like she lost Echo. Oh, okay, maybe that's the direction. Like,
yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's a head scratcher for sure. This is one of the bottom ones this season, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it.
I was about to say, like, I don't think there is anything else to say about it. There isn't anything that was like huge or
no.
Yeah.
Nope. No, and the planet seems abandoned. So yeah, I don't even know next episode if it's going to explore, how much it's going to explore that. But again, we just haven't. I mean, we haven't seen Crosshair, right, since the 3rd episode.
No, we haven't.
So,
like, I thought crossing would be. They would finally cross paths again with or no, they would straight up cross paths with Crosshair.
Mm-hmm.
But no, instead we get this.
I know. It's just amazing because like D. Bradley Baker before the season started was touting really heavily that how much like we're gonna learn about Crosshair in this season. It's like, okay, well, there's only 7 episodes left, so we're more than halfway, and we only seen him 1 episode. So I don't know. I mean, and honestly, there's been 2 full episodes if you count the Crosshair one, and one of them last week. That we didn't even get the Bad Batch in 2 of those episodes.
Right. Which wasn't a bad thing.
It wasn't a bad thing. No, because those episodes were pretty good. I mean, really good.
I would argue they were probably the best episodes.
They probably were. It could have been, yes. So you got to start. I don't know. I hope they start making, these storylines part of the big picture, but keep these guys part of that big picture instead of making them. I mean, you're almost making these guys the side characters.
That's exactly what it feels like. We're missing out on the main story. It's like the main story is happening, right? And we get a couple episodes of the main story. And then all of a sudden we're on this side journey. And the side journey is taking a backseat to the main story because we don't know where the side journey is going and we're missing out on the main attraction.
Right.
That's you're right. That's exactly what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully they can course correct a little bit these next few episodes. I mean, you got the retrieval next week. You got Metamorphosis after that, the Outpost, and then an episode called Pabu, Tipping Point, and then the last 2, The Summit and Plan 99. So I just hope that, gosh, I just hope they just don't wait till like the last 3 episodes and all of a sudden we get these storylines with Crosshair and all this stuff. I mean,
I don't think you can. If you do, well, I don't think you can and have it be successful.
I agree. Because here's the thing, too, to remember. In 2 weeks, you're going to start competing against the Mandalorian. So if you're not drawing interest, people are just going to start watching Mandalorian and not even finish this out till later.
Yep.
So, yeah. So you got to do something this next episode.
Here's hoping.
But we'll see. Okay, so a couple of comments, though, on our last episode. Thrawn Addict, of course, says, really looking forward to the Kira novel. I thought Most Wanted was a really enjoyable prequel piece to Solo movie, and think if it does turn into a trilogy of books, we'll only make her character stronger when looking at her in the comics timeline. Always always good to see Darth Maul in anything if they delve into particular time after Solo. And then he goes on to say Bad Batch episodes 7 and 8 was fantastic. With this series, the arc I really enjoy most in the post-war details concerning the government, clones, and going into the more detail on how they go from the Republic to the full-fledged Empire. Interesting to see systems senators being concerned for aftercare of the clones and discussing how they will be phased out, as well as seeing some clones having trouble adjusting to the galaxy with no war. Mm-hmm. Lastly, Palpatine's appearance at the end was fantastic and was classic and clever way how he turned the situation and evidence in his favor. Need more of this story / arc going forward and less riot racing and treasure hunting. Thanks again for the great video, David and Hannah. May the Force with you. Yeah, that's basically what we just said too, less of this and let's get to the main story, which it's about, this whole thing was about how do they deal with the transition of not being soldiers and living life during the Empire. And it's like, it is, I get it that there's things that they're doing to survive, but they keep saying they're running from the Empire. Well, they're not running from the Empire. No, they don't even know that they're there.
They're living their lives. There's like nothing at stake.
That's right.
That's what it is. The episodes that don't feature what should be the main story, there's nothing at stake.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Why do we care?
Yes.
They're safe. They're fine. They're
Yep.
making an income.
Yeah, like the last episode, the fact that they had to go to Coruscant,
yes.
that was they were at risk. So the stakes were higher. The episode was better. Totally understand. Yeah, totally. That's it. Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What else? Anything else?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. All right.
Here's the next week.
Here's the next week. We will be back next week to talk about episode 10. And of course, our last episode before the Mandalorian premiere. So we can kind of speculate a little bit of our expectations on what we're going to get out of season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, check out the Mandalore podcast with me and Martin deep diving into these episodes. Interesting what we're going to talk about this week because I don't have much to talk about it, but he actually liked this episode.
What?
So we'll see.
What?
He's going to have to tell me what he really liked about this thing.
What did he clearly get that we didn't?
I don't know. We'll see.
Did we miss something?
No, I don't think so. Me and Martin, we do have our views. That's kind of why. That's kind of how it happens on there a lot. So,
And that's good.
it is good. Lots of discussion. So go check that out as well as all of our other shows Beyond the Saga that Hannah was talking about, Council Sessions, all the other shows that are on our YouTube channel, and then, of course, patreon.com. Thank you to our patrons, especially our master patrons, for your contributions. We really, really appreciate it. And we will see you next week. Enjoy your weekend. Go watch some Star Wars. Hannah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week. May the Force be with you.